this. I wonder if other VPs had as much excitement as I do. Thomas Massey asked Mike Pence about his last month. Damn, that's crazy. What is the Israeli appetite for war with Iran? Oh, it's fucking... Oh, it's the buffet. I think Israeli society... is not as important here. Their opinions are completely inconsequential. Yeah, this was the other thing that I saw. I responded to this as well. Not much backup from Dems today as AOC saying Trump could be impeached over the Iran strikes. No, that's a big threshold to cross, says Nancy Pelosi. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. To which I responded, Lamau, that's not what Twitter Democrats keep telling me about the party. She is the Speaker Emeritus, and the reason why she fucking intervened here is because Hakeem Jeffries has no motion and no smoke. So, Dems already voted the impeachment down, by the way, so, you know, congratulations to the Democrats on this one. Here is the drug-fueled rant this morning. Oh, also, yeah, AOC had, Trump had some smoke for AOC. Stupid AOC, one of the dumbest people in Congress, is now calling for my impeachment, despite the fact that the crooked and corrupt Democrats have already done that twice now. The reason for her rantings is all of the victories and that the USA has had under the Trump administration. The Democrats aren't used to winning, and she can't stand the concept of our country being successful. Again, when we examine her test scores, we will find out that she is not qualified for office, but nevertheless far more qualified than Crockett, who is a seriously low IQ individual, or Ilhan Omar, who does nothing but complain about our country, yet the failed country that she comes from doesn't have a government, is drenched in crime and poverty, and is rated one of the worst in the world, if it's even rated at all. How dare the mouse tell us how to run the United States of America? Who's the mouse? Is it Ilhan Omar? Is he calling Ilhan Omar the mouse now? Is that the new thing? Anyway, I don't want to read the rest of this. Who gives a fuck? He's just AOC's response, she was cooking him. Mr. President, don't take your anger out on me. I'm just a silly girl. Take it out on whoever convinced you to betray the American people and our Constitution by illegally bombing Iran and dragging us into war. It only took you 5 months to break almost every promise you made. It's not, that's not bad. He called Chuck Schumer the great Palestinian senator. She better start worrying about her own primary before she thinks about beating our great Palestinian senator, crying Chuck Schumer, whose career is definitely on very thin ice. She and her Democrat friends have just hit the lowest poll numbers in congressional history, so go ahead and try impeaching me again. Make my day. Yeah, whatever. This is, who cares? I don't care. I don't care about this. Jeffries did a live stream earlier today and he had 82 people watching. Lamau, yeah, I saw. Funnily enough, this is also all Brandon's fault. Brandon gave Netanyahu the slightest taste of free will, and once Israel tasted that free will, there was no going back. Once Brandon let the attack dog off his leash, it's next to impossible for Trump to get that leash back on. Yeah, that is a Brandonian failure, but I would say that is a Brandonian failure born out of Trump's initial failure to do the exact same. And here is, don't take my word for it, obviously, because I'm a radical, right? I'm this radical guy, right? Here is, where is it? I want to show you Matt Duss, who is a liberal Zionist, and Bernie Sanders is former foreign policy guy. We don't agree on everything when it comes to foreign policy, certainly. But here it is. Unmentioned is that Biden's promise to rejoin the JCPOA and broke that promise. Unmentioned is that Biden promised to rejoin the JCPOA and then broke that promise, squandering an opportunity to set up and setting the stage for conflict. Unmentioned is the Gaza genocide that Tony helped perpetrate, the result of a regional strategy he shamelessly now seeks credit for. This is in response to Anthony Blinken's horrendous op-ed in the New York Times saying, opinion, Trump's Iran diplomacy failed. I hope his airstrike succeeds. This is why I say American foreign policy is uniparty. And the reason why I say this is not to get a fucking like shitty victory over the libshits on the timeline being like, Kamala Harris would never do this. We'd be at brunch right now. Even if Kamala Harris would do exactly this, we'd still be at brunch. That's not my point. I don't care about this. Kamala Harris is not the fucking president. But I want my fellow countrymen on the Democrat side, on the liberal side, to recognize the reality that if they are truly anti-war, which I suspect many are not, and they're simply looking for a reason for why they are not going to go out and protest against Trump, because they did their very best, that going out and voting is not the end of the political process, the end of the political journey. If you're truly anti-war, if there's policies that you actually believe in, you have to be committed. You have to have a steady commitment. You have to keep protesting. You have to pressure the Democrats to reflect your values. And what's frustrating is that so many people on Twitter will rather fantasize about how Kamala would do things differently at a time when the Democratic Party, and at least like the most powerful Democrats, are seemingly posturing in the exact opposite way that these guys are fantasizing. It's very, very frustrating. Stop fantasizing about an alternative reality when the Democrats are positioning themselves and signaling that they are on board with this Iran stuff. They're just not on board with the process. They don't like that there was no congressional approval. The problem is not that there was no congressional approval. That is a problem. That is not the problem. The problem is going to war with Iran instead of doing diplomacy. A problem in the process is doing it without asking the fucking asking Congress for permission, as is stated in the Constitution. It's very, very frustrating. Here's Brett McGurk, former Biden NSC coordinator for the Middle East. Literally the architect, by the way. The architect of the Gaza genocide. Perhaps the Steve Witkoff to the Biden administration. If Marco Rubio is the Anthony Blinken, Brett McGurk was the Steve Witkoff. Or more than Steve Witkoff. Like, he was the architect of the Gaza genocide, of the bombing campaign in Lebanon. Okay? Modern day Kissinger. Brett McGurk, former Biden NSC coordinator for the Middle East. This is about the best place we can be. I give extremely high marks to his national security team and President Trump for managing this crisis. Good morning, says Akbar Shahid Ahmed, senior diplomatic correspondent at HuffPo. Joe Biden's chief Middle East advisor wants you to know Trump has brought us the best place we can be, and the White House wants you to know he said that. McGurk crafted the policy Trump doubled down on driving the dangerous Iran-Israel war, which is likely to resume. Plus ongoing bloodshed for Palestinians, a blank check for Netanyahu, and minimal accountability or reflection for U.S. choices. He's also extremely ambitious. See this in the context of his work for presidents from Bush on, an era in which the U.S. has a deeply questionable track record in the region he focuses on. Plus his sense that he can secure an even bigger job sometime soon under Trump or a Democrat. It'll be quite a choice to again empower McGurk. There will be new details on McGurk's role in the nightmare in Gaza and the Middle East broadly in my upcoming book, says Akbar Shahid Ahmed. Tracking figures like McGurk matters not so much because of who they are personally, but because of what they represent. A tired, failing foreign policy establishment that rejects introspection, fueling bloodshed and alienating Americans. No hope of progress without addressing that. And once again, as he also points to Matt Duss's statement that was critical of Anthony Blinken, Biden did not rejoin the JCPOA. So when Kamala Harris said at some point that she would rejoin the JCPOA, that rings hollow, as she also stated time and time again that Iran was a major issue. Iran was the most significant enemy, and that her foreign policy perspective would not actually step away from Biden's foreign policy perspective at a time when there was unprecedented violence unfolding in broad daylight, as Israel continued with the blank checks that they were getting from the United States of America with our munitions, a live-streamed child holocaust. The notion that Kamala Harris would be any different is insane. This is not to say, oh, you shouldn't have voted for Kamala Harris, okay? That's not my statement at all. Because I have also time and time again mentioned that Trump would be worse, okay? Of course Trump would be worse, but on this issue, the idea that Kamala Harris would be a peaceful dove is idiotic, okay? The reason why I'm bringing this up is not to be like, I told you so, or to secure this like weird moral victory. The reason why I'm saying this is because if you are a liberal and you voted for Kamala Harris and you believe that Kamala Harris would present an alternative vision for American foreign policy, you have to recognize the reality very quickly and mobilize against the current Democratic establishment to ensure that when there is another opportunity for elections where your voice can maybe be heard, you make it known that you are anti-war. You make it known that your anger and resentment, your frustration, is not the same kind of frustration that the Democrats are currently presenting, that this was done without congressional approval. Because while congressional approval is an important part of this puzzle, it's not the most significant part of this puzzle. The most significant part of this is going to war with Iran at all and not actually following through on diplomatic outcomes at all. Do you understand? So if you are on the one hand stating over and over again that, well, Kamala Harris would have listened to Congress and would have gotten the approval from Congress to strike Iran, and talking as though like striking Iran was a necessity, you are ultimately no different than the Republicans. Playing it by the book and preserving the institutions is meaningless if the outcome is still the same. That is my argument. If you care about the outcome, if you care about actually being anti-war, you have to pressure your representatives to also reflect that opinion. And this is not an opinion that is unpopular. This is an opinion that is immensely popular. Okay? 85% of the country said that they did not want to go to war with Iran. And only 5% of the country in the latest YouGov poll said that they would want to go to war with Iran. Only 5. The rest were undecided. If you can't even get on board with a fucking 85-5 issue, what are we doing here? Then democracy is just a lie. And you recognize that it's a lie, but you want to entertain yourself with the notion that, like, if your team wins, maybe the alternative is that the other side's team gets sad for a little bit. McGurk wasn't brought in just by Joe Biden. He's been in NatSec Middle East foreign policy game since 2015 when Obama appointed him to be his ISIS guy. McGurk resigned under Trump when he found out Trump was withdrawing troops from Syria. He's not just a Democrat, but he's an ideological demon in it for the love of the game of which is killing brown people. Yes, at the behest of Israel, too. Like, Brett McGurk's purpose here, alongside, what was the IDF guy? The guy that literally served in the IDF. Was it Amichai or whatever? There were two dudes. It was Brett McGurk and the other dude who was literally an IDF guy that designed Biden's foreign policy. Amos Hochstein, sorry. Amos Hochstein is funny. Yeah. No, it's not Hochstein. Former Biden admin official, I wish the Trump admin would just hire McGurk already. Would be so much easier to then go after the he represents and imposed on our admin for not to absolve anyone for Biden's record, which directly brought us to a more dangerous place, but to note how frustration is rising in Dem. I didn't see an F. Why does this guy go Omega F anytime there's like a baby blip? Like there will be like a minor blip and the chatter will act as though it's over, like the stream is done permanently. The stream is perma-fried. Drama queens. But to note how frustration is rising in Dem foreign policy circles, the question is if that leads to a process of accountability, reflection, and even remorse.